Thank you. Okay, so hi, I'm Shiung. I'm a product consultant with TOPPAN ECQUARIA. Before I begin my presentation, I'm just going to show you guys a video.
Hi, I am glad you're here. Not too long ago, most of us were still pretty comfortable visiting our government offices and accessing the municipal services that each office has to offer. We would spend our days with our personal documents in hand, waiting for our queue number to be called, then spend time filling up lengthy forms. Finally, we would sign the forms, submit them to the officer behind the counter, and make our payment. But then you'd be thinking, how can I make this easier for me and my users? So you say, okay, I could host my services and forms online so that my users can access it through their smartphones or laptops. But then you realize, in order to shift your services online, especially if they are government services, it is crucial that we have a secure and easily accessible digital ecosystem for both citizens and businesses. With transactions being increasingly digitized, the government is developing a National Digital Identity (NDI) platform. Extending from the SingPass authentication system, NDI provides citizens with a single digital identity to transact with both public and private sectors. What's more, the MyInfo service minimizes the need for users to repeatedly provide and verify their personal information when transacting with government services online. So, now that we know where the government is heading, how should users interact with your services? For starters, I would want my users to log into my system using the SingPass authentication. Users can scan the QR code through the SingPass mobile app installed on their smartphones to log in. Once logged in, users can securely access the relevant services available to them. For my forms, I would want to provide my users the convenience of not having to fill in their basic information, like their first name and last name, their email address, phone number, gender, date of birth, and their nationality. I would want them autofilled. Personal information provided through the MyInfo service, based on your user's login, can help you with that. Once users have completed their forms, I may want them to sign their forms using the SingPass digital signing service. Digital signing a form or document using SingPass works pretty much the same way as a SingPass login. Users can scan the QR code through the SingPass mobile app installed on their smartphones to digitally sign forms and legal documents conveniently. Finally, I may want my users to make their payments online for the services I am providing. And I would want support for all major payment providers like eNets, Stripe, and PayNow. There are so many things that I would like to do for my users, but where do I start? Don't worry, we are here to help. So come, join us as we walk through this digital journey together.
All right, hope you guys like the video. So allow me to introduce you to EIC. We have been talking about EIC the whole morning today. It's essentially one of our products that can simplify and speed up your integration with government services like SingPass and COPPAS. So the EIC has been deployed in many agencies, including MOH, MAS, and state courts, and many more. And the following, what you can see here is essentially all the EIC products that we support in order to help you integrate your applications or to integrate your applications with all the government services. So you see here SingPass, COPPAS, the usual suspects, GovAD, digital signing. And if you have been following us for the past couple of years, you have beefed up the number of services that we support. Okay, so a little bit about our EIC design. EIC is designed to be multi-tenant, means that it supports agency-wide common service deployment. This means that once you have deployed, once your EIC has been deployed, is deployed agency-wide, means that any new project that or any new application that you need to develop that need to use the government service like SingPass or COPPAS can share the same installation. Next, EIC is also designed to be scalable. What it means is that it is designed to be cloud native and using microservice architecture. So it can be deployed as containers. This means that it is scalable with no downtime. and it can be deployed on both your government cloud as well as your on-prem data centers. And finally, we are committed to continue upgrade and enhance that in order to be government compliant. If you need not have to do it for each and every one of your application. A single installation, we will continually ensure that it is compliant with government compliant with government standards. So why EIC? EIC will reduce the effort with tested and proven solution. We have integrate EIC will simplify all your integration because it uses simple RESTful APIs. And we will handle all the heavy lifting for you because we understand the architecture and we have gone through the interface specs and we have done all the implementation already. So you don't have to second guess yourself every time you have a new application. You don't have to re-implement the same thing again. With the same instance, right, you can all share the same instance with all your applications. And you don't run the risk of not meeting your implementation timeline. It is also a centralized management and patching software. So deploying EIC as a common service, you can manage all your apps, your account creation, your role-based access control, your key rotation, all on the same service. And you can also it also provides a centralized place for you to log all your transactions. So thirdly, EIC lowers your TCO or total cost of operation by leveraging an agency-wide common service. You may have a concern that purchasing a product will increase your overall cost in terms of subscription and infrastructure, but it is a valid concern, but I will tell you that it has been proven otherwise. Some agencies have engaged us to do a 5-year TCO. And it has shown that the total cost of ownership is much lower in significant cost savings if more of your applications leverage on this EIC deployment. So how do we comply to government standards? What you see here is something maybe quite familiar to you. This is your AIAS architecture. So what you will see here, you will see your typical integration of GUT tier and your internet zone and your intranet zone and your management zone. All right. EIC is deployed on the IT tier or integration tier. The reason why we do this is because we want to support cross-zone API integration. So in order to access systems such as your SingPass, CorpPass in the internet zone, and your EDS or WOGAD in the intranet zone, we want to be able to leverage this cross-zone integration, which is why we put it inside the integration tier. Also, just want to introduce you our other suites of products. They include the EGP, which is the yes. So in the integration tier, in the cloud, we are able to deploy. We are able to access the integration tier to install our EIC into the integration tier. So our other products also include the EGP, which is the Equaria Government Center. So it provides a platform for you to deploy your services quickly with some basic building tools. And also we have other products that support monitoring as well as your CI/CD pipeline. So all the way from deployment to your from development all the way to deployment in your government data centers as well as your cloud. We have a suite of products to help you do that. But today we just want to focus on EIC, which is what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so let's come back to EIC. So EIC, before I go to individual products, I want to talk about the management console. So the EIC comes with a management console. It is a web-based management console for all our products. This web-based console, if you actually remember the architecture that I showed you just now, so there's the integration tier and there's also the management tier. This web console can be deployed separately inside the management zone. This is in order to comply with your government architecture. Because IM8 requirements require you to perform administrative tasks inside the management zone. The web console also allows you to support, also supports profile configuration, key rotation, transactions, such as other administrative functions, all within the same web console. And finally, it also supports industry standard RBAC, or role-based access control. So on top of your transaction logs, which you see, like for example, you do your SingPass or CorPass transactions, we also have audit trails, so audit logs, so that whoever logs in to the EIC and perform things like key rotation, we have a layer of traceability and accountability. All right, so this is an example of how the management console looks like. What you will see here is all the configuration that you need to do for your SingPass integration. Another example of the logging. So what you will see here is all your SingPass or MyInfo transactions. You will see error messages for your troubleshooting and for monitoring. Okay. The EIC is divided into two groups of services. One is the gateway services, and another one is the identity services. So under gateway services, we have API gateway. API gateway is essentially an API integration for your internet intranet zone of your external or internal services. So like I said just now, why we put EIC in the integration tier? Because we want to support cross-zone integration. So the API gateway allows applications to access APIs hosted in the internet zone from the intranet zone and vice versa. So APIs can be called either way. Next, the API gateway is compliant with AI's requirements in terms of authentication, authorization, payload inspection. Earlier, when I was talking about AIAS, it's not just specific to architecture. We also have to comply when we do any API integration to comply with these three security-related features. And it also supports industry strength authentication methods. So how we ensure the authentication authorization is through industry strength authentication methods such as OAuth, JWT, and HMAC. So after we have done our authentication and authorization, so how do we do payload inspection? So to elaborate more on payload inspection, right? So when an API is called, either from the internet zone to the intranet or vice versa, predefined rules can be applied to the API call, either through the request header, the body, or the URL parameters. Through the EIC console. This is in order to validate and make sure that whatever API that comes through API gateway is validated before it moves downstream to downstream APIs now. So other products, if you actually buy them outside, it will require you to do some scripting or do some development. But here is purely through configuration on the EIC web console. Okay, the next EIC product I'm going to talk about is the payment gateway under the gateway services. Well, the payment gateway is actually to aggregate all the interfaces with your external payment service providers, like your eNets, your PayNow, and your PayPal. So individual applications, right? If you onboard your application with EIC, you'll be all these applications on board with EIC are able to access all these payment service providers through simple RESTful APIs. So your common RESTful API, the same APIs applies to any payment service provider that you onboard with payment gateway. So if you want to have additional payment service providers, yes, that's possible. You can also onboard your own other payment service providers onto the payment gateway, available to all your other applications. So again, like I was saying, that you are sharing the integration across all your apps, and you will have a complete set of transactions as well, or deadlocks. Okay, next, our most popular product lah. So why people get EIC is because SingPass Corpus integration lah. So the next two products that you see here, the OIDC RP as well as SAML SP, both are for your authentication against your SingPass integrated identity provider. So we have done all the heavy lifting for you. So we have you only need to perform simple configuration like what you saw just now in the console, in order to integrate your SingPass Corpus to your applications. So a little bit of background, your SAML SP is actually an older XML-based framework. And it is being phased out for the newer OIDC RP. So if let's say you onboard with us, you will be more likely to get this, the OIDC RP. So the Open OIDC stands for Open ID Connect. Open ID is a newer standard for SingPass Corpus integration. It's a lightweight protocol based on JSON, JWT, as well as your REST. So it works on top of your OAuth 2.0 protocol for your authentication as well as your authorization. So your OIDC RP works pretty much the same as SAML SP to authenticate against your SingPass Corpus identity provider. So a little bit of background. So most of last year, we have been doing a lot of migration for agencies from SAML SP to OIDC RP. Then you may ask why is there a need to migrate? First, of course, now I was saying is definitely a newer protocol. Second, it has capabilities such as automated signing and encryption key rotation using the JWKS, JSON Web Key Service, and also supports single sign-on. So both are also very good reasons why you should migrate if you haven't done so. Okay, next, the OIDC RP. Let's go to OIDC RP. It is actually fully compliant with the latest NDI OpenID specs to support things like client assertion, JWKS endpoint for your key rotation, as well as EC keys. And also, it supports single sign-on using a common digital service ID. Okay, our next two products that we have added as well, they are the MyInfo as well as the Gov EDH. If you saw the video just now, your MyInfo is used to auto-fill your forms. Same thing for Gov EDH as well. So both these products here, the intention is basically for us to remove the heavy lifting for you, to retrieve the information that you need so that you can auto-fill your forms for your users. So it enables auto form filling with government verified data. I think this cannot be stressed more. It's not just data from anywhere, it's government verified data. So you ensure that this data that you're getting is actually from a reliable and verified source. The difference between the MyInfo and the Gov EDH is that MyInfo provides you with personal information for your forms. The EDH is for corporate info. Okay, I'm going to focus more on our last two products. This one. So these are slightly new. So this one is called EIC Gov AD. So the purpose of EIC Gov AD is to integrate with WOG AD for your centrally managed user accounts. So a little bit of background. Starting from 2002 this year, all right. So agencies have been recommended by GovTech to progressively implement your user authentication against the WOG AD, right? As a prerequisite for your CAM integration. You remember your CAM integration? So CAM integration is actually your central account management. So we are trying to align with GovTech's direction to move away from agency managed or locally managed user accounts. we want to authenticate against the WOGAD for centrally managed user accounts. So CAM integration is essentially for your agency to allow the CAM system to inform you or to manage your user accounts in your system. So your agency needs to provide some sort of API so that the CAM system can inform you of any information like staff movement and such. But of course, before you can do your CAM integration, you are encouraged to integrate with WOGAD. Because this is where your EIC GovAD comes in. We will allow you to migrate to integrate with your WOGAD quickly. And our EIC GovAD actually supports both WOGAD FS and Azure AD. So in order to simplify your upcoming CAM integration, if you haven't done so, EIC GovAD allows you to integrate using simple RESTful APIs for your applications. EIC GovAD also supports single sign-on. So I'm going to talk about 3 modes of authentication that is defined by GovTech, so that you can understand why we should authenticate against the GovAD. So I will move from mode 3 to mode 1 because mode 1 is actually the preferred mode that GovTech wants us to go to. So mode 3 essentially is defined by GovTech as user accounts managed locally by your application system. So let's say you have an application that you're developing, your user accounts are being managed by your application system, and authentication is done through your application system. So if let's say staff movement and through your CAM integration, and CAM integration needs to inform you of maybe a staff leaving the service, your application needs to handle both the removal of the account as well as the access rights of the account. All right. There's a risk here that, of course, your user account will not be synced with your WOGAD. All right. The next mode of CAM integration is mode 2, whereby the user accounts are managed by your agency AD. So you have an agency-wide AD that supports the authentication of user accounts for all your application systems. All right. So all your application will authenticate against your agency AD. So through CAM integration, let's say again, same scenario whereby a staff movement and CAM system informs you the staff leaves. The application only has to be concerned about removing the access rights of the user, while the removal of the account is done by the agency AD. Definitely more centralized in terms of than mode 3 because it's an agency-wide AD. But what GovTech recommends is to have user accounts to be managed centrally by your WOGAD, whereby all your application systems will authenticate directly with the WOGAD. So again, same example in terms of any staff movement, CAM can inform you. CAM will first remove the account directly from WOGAD, so you don't have to handle it at the agency level. You only be concerned about, again, removing the access rights only. So how does EIC GovAD come in? EIC GovAD will perform this authentication for you. Sure. I mean, sure. So different application will handle your user accounts removal differently. So it really depends on your individual applications. So of course, we want to make it easier for you, the authentication against WOGAD. EIC GovAD, simple RESTful APIs for your authentication, and we support both the WOGADFS as well as your Azure AD. All right. Okay, why GovAD? GovAD is a tailored product for your WOG integration. Definitely will make it easier for you to do your CAM integration. It will ensure a successful implementation, reduce all your individual application implementation with WOGAD. So it's a centralized implementation for you. And also it simplifies your onboarding and integration with proven implementation. So it has been deployed before in production, it's proven to work, and it keeps things simple for your application. And you will definitely meet your timeline. We will help you meet your timeline for your CAM integration. Okay, the next product which I'm going to talk about is the digital signing. Just a quick video from GovTech. Right, digital signing. This is one of our newer ones. All right, so EIC digital signing is to help you integrate with NDI's digital signing service. Essentially, it's your sign with SingPass. Just now you were watching a video on sign with SingPass, how you can actually digitally sign your transactions or documents using the sign with SingPass. So documents or transactions can be digitally signed remotely using the SingPass mobile app. I think most of us already have that app. So once that document or transaction has been signed, it is regarded as a secure electronic signature under the ETA, Electronic Transaction Act. Okay, so what is the ETA or Electronic Transaction Act? The Electronic Transaction Act has been passed since 1998. It is to actually provide a legal framework to govern all your digital services such as e-commerce, electronic records, or electronic contracts and signatures. So in Singapore, the enforceability of electronic signatures is governed by Chapter 88 of the ETA. So it draws the distinction between three types of signatures. The first type of signature is the electronic signature. The electronic signature is an electronic record of signed documents or scanned copies. Essentially, you can do something simple like if you have a PDF document, create an image of your signature and just paste it down there and call it a signature. But of course, you all know this is not secure and is susceptible to fraud and tampering. The next type of signature, one level up okay, so it's actually a secure electronic signature. So the secure electronic signature is an electronic signature that can be verified securely for, you can identify the person, you can, only the same person can create that signature, that one person. So that's where certs come in. And you can link it to the record, all right? The third type of signature that the ETA defines is a digital signature, so another step up. So a digital signature is a secure electronic signature created by applying a symmetric cryptographic algorithm on a one-way hash function of an electronic record. Wow, what's that? Essentially is a signature created using your sign with SingPass. So that's one way to do a digital signature, to use the sign with SingPass. All right, so certificates are issued because you're signing with you are signing something with your SingPass, right? SingPass mobile app. So certificate, each of you have a unique certificate for your SingPass application, and this certificate is issued by the NCA or the National Certification Authority. Currently, it's Assurity Trusted Solutions. They are pending accreditation. They are essentially the ones that issue the certs to your application. So digital signatures created using this sign with SingPass are essentially digital signatures. So properties of a digital signature. It has to be authentic, means that it can prove the identity of the person. So who signed this document? Mr. John Doe signed this document. A digital signature has to be non-repeatable, meaning that it proves that the person identified is the one signing it. Did you sign the document? Yes, I signed the document. I cannot deny it because it's my signature. Okay, cannot be disputed. And finally, integrity. Proves that the record has not been modified or tampered with. So when a dispute comes and Mr. John Doe comes up to you and say, no, I didn't sign this document, I didn't sign the terms in this contract in this document, no, he cannot dispute it. All right. So that is the property. Those are properties of a digital signature. And digital signatures can be applied to both transactions as well as documents. Remember this. Hint. Okay. So transaction signing process. A typical user journey for a user who performs digital signing, he first fills up a form. He submits the form, and we will store the data either in a JSON or XML format. So how do we initiate a digital signing process with NDI? Your application, you need to generate a hash of the data that you are trying to store and send it to NDI's DSS or digital signing service. Next, your application needs to, of course, display a QR code so that your user can scan the QR code. All right. Notice the NCA here. I was talking about the NCA is essentially your your surety trusted solution. They will be the ones who will be issuing your certificate to your SingPass instance. After the signing is done, DSS will return to your application the digital signature as well as the cert, the same cert, all right, that is issued by NCA to you for storage. So now what you have your data, you have your cert and your digital signature all stored in your database. So where does EIC come in? Our digital signing service comes in here. So we want to take away the need for you to first initiate your digital signing. You call us a simple RESTful API. We will initiate the signing process for you. Then we also help you display the QR code so that the user can, we generate the QR code for you so that the user can just scan with his sign with his SingPass application. And finally, the REST API that you call will return you the cert as well as digital signature for your storage. All right. So we'll handle these things for you. Also, of course, we will do stuff like verification of the cert as well, right, with the NCA. So, where all the things that I've talked about, right, the different government services that we have, all come with specs like this. So we are essentially taking away all the heavy lifting from you and reading through the specs, looking at complicated flow diagrams like this so that you can integrate these services quickly into your applications. Okay, so let's say there's a dispute. Mr. John Doe says, no, I didn't sign this document. This is not the document that I signed. So what do? You can retrieve the three things that I mentioned just now, the form data, signature, as well as the cert. From the form data, you can generate the hash. From the digital signature and the cert, you can also decrypt and generate the hash. As long as the hash is equal, Mr. John Doe cannot say that he didn't sign it. The signature belongs to him. He cannot say that he did not sign it. And because the hash is equal, the integrity of the signature is very high because there's no tampering on the digital record. Okay. The last point that I'm going to make is we are a product as a service. What does that mean? So we don't just sell products as a software distribution, but we also provide things like installation, configuration, test support, maintenance in your environment. So on top of delivering our product, we also provide service to help you deliver a successful implementation. We offer things like pre-deployment. We offer things like architecture, sizing, provide you installation and onboarding services. For example, in your SingPass and CorPass, we have done so many SingPass and CorPass integrations already, right? You need to fill some forms. All right, so you need to provide some information to NDI. So we have done so many, we can actually handhold you through the entire process, including all the form filling and whatever information that you need to provide. We will handhold you in the entire process, like we have done for many agencies. We also provide service managers to be attached to you, individual projects, inform you of any upgrades or patches that need to be made and perform the patches for you on site. So we also ask for clearance to go into your environment to perform the necessary installation, configuration, and maintenance. So we don't just sell you the product. We also help you deliver a successful implementation. All right. That is my last slide. Any questions? If not, thank you. I'm going to pass the time to Wee Hong. He's going to explain more on how we can procure our services and products and services on AWS. So thank you, Wee Hong.